Welcome to the Say It Out Loud podcast. I'm your host, Vasavi Kumar. If you're eager to gain clarity, speak with unwavering confidence, and liberate those inner voices, you're in the perfect spot. My mission here is to empower you to break free, find fulfillment, and ignite your passion. You ready? It's time to say it out loud. I've put together a guide of my top 10 tested and proven to work practical strategies and habits to help bright women like you say no, set your boundaries right, live confidently, and build healthy relationships, starting with the relationship you have with yourself. This is a self-paced guide, and I can't wait for you to dig into it so you can start becoming your most confident self, because she's in there waiting for you. Head to the link in my show notes or go to vasavikumar.com/guide and grab it today. Welcome back to another episode of the Say It Out Loud podcast. Today we are talking about one of the laziest, most overused, and frankly irresponsible pieces of advice given to women in the workplace, which is you just need to speak up more. Look, I get it. It sounds empowering on the surface, but let me just say this plainly. Women don't need to be told to speak up. Organizations need to build cultures where women don't have to fight to be heard. Speak up isn't a solution, it's a deflection. It puts the responsibility on the individual and conveniently lets leadership off the hook for fixing the real problem, a culture that rewards the loudest voice, not the most valuable one. So buckle up, because today I'm calling out the leadership, the culture, and the nonsense advice that keeps organizations stuck. So let's start here. Women aren't quiet because they lack opinions. They aren't hesitant because they lack ideas. They aren't invisible because they lack ambition. They're assessing risk. The risk of being labeled difficult, the risk of being interrupted or talked over, the risk of being ignored, the risk of being told directly or indirectly that their voice doesn't carry the same weight as someone louder, more privileged, or more palatable. And yet we keep offering the surface level nonsense, just speak up, as if it's that simple, as if confidence alone can fix broken systems, as if louder voices automatically earn more respect. Let me tell you what happens when women do speak up in these environments. They get interrupted, they get questioned more, they get written off as emotional, they get labeled as too much. Or worse, they get ignored entirely while a man repeats their idea 5 minutes later and gets credit for it. So no, just speak up isn't advice, it's gaslighting. Here's the thing. In my experience, I've spent 15 years working with brilliant, capable, powerful women. I've worked in therapy rooms, coaching rooms, and boardrooms. And I've watched how the world, especially the corporate world, trains women to doubt their voices. I've coached women who could run the company but are still waiting for permission to sound like they already belong in the room they've worked their entire careers to get into. I've seen the performance of inclusion. I've heard the statements like, "We want more diverse voices at the table." And I've watched these same leaders talk over every woman with a bold, brilliant idea. And that's exactly why I created the Out Loud Visibility Method. Because visibility isn't about confidence, it's about culture. And culture is shaped by leadership, not by HR statements, not by diversity metrics, not by workshops nobody takes seriously. Here's the thing. Companies spend so much time trying to fix the individual, coaching them to be more confident, training them to present better, encouraging them to speak up louder. Meanwhile, leadership avoids asking the real question. Why does speaking up here feel like a risk? Why does it still feel like a risk? Because visibility gaps don't get solved at the individual level. They get solved when leadership stops performing inclusion and starts modeling it. They get solved when listening becomes a leadership skill, not an afterthought. And they get solved when the loudest voice isn't the only one being heard. Because psychological safety isn't a perk, it's a requirement. Most people aren't quiet because they're weak. They're quiet because your culture taught them it's safer to be silent than to be honest. So if you want more women speaking up, create environments where silence isn't a survival strategy. Because visibility isn't about raising your hand higher. It's about not having to justify your right to speak in the first place. Communication isn't a soft skill. It's the foundation of trust, leadership, and culture. And it's not just about what leaders say. It's about how they listen. It's about who they center. It's about whose voices are given space and whose are pushed to the margins. If this hits a nerve, good. It should. Because I am so tired of women being told they're the problem when the problem is baked into the system. Visibility isn't optional, communication shapes culture, and leadership isn't about how loud you speak, it's about what you create space for. If your organization wants to fix this, you know where to find me. The Out Loud Visibility Method isn't a theory. It's how we change culture, one conversation, one leader, one organization at a time. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Say It Out Loud podcast. See you next week. And trust me, I am not going to be quiet about this. And until next time, remember to say it out loud. If you love today's episode, then say it out loud. Subscribe, leave a review, and come say hi over on Instagram at My Name is Vasavi. Until next time, say it out loud.